Good evening, everyone, and you're welcome to the final edition of the Europe and UK Scholarship Series for this year. And trust me, if you have been following us from the very first session, you agree that it has been an enlightening and educational series so far. It's been a space for real conversations, lived experiences, and practical guidance on assessing opportunities across Europe and the UK. And by the grace of God, we look forward to expanding our impact even further in the coming year. And of course, I would like to appreciate everyone that has stayed with us from the very first session until now. I mean, your time, the engagement, the questions, the feedback, and the continued support truly means a lot to us. Thank you so much. We really appreciate how far you've stayed with us. And for those that are joining us for the very first time, you are also welcome on board. I am Omobolale Kalinikoshi, the host for the Europe and UK Scholarship Series, which is an initiative of the Agri Scholars Mentoring Hub. And trust me, tonight's session is a special one whereby we'll be focusing on scholarship opportunities in Italy. So whether you're planning a master's or a PhD, I mean, Italy offers a range of funded scholarships that provide access to some of the oldest, most reputable research driven universities in the world. So, this session is actually designed to help you understand what are the opportunities that exist in Italy, how does the Italian scholarship system works, and how to position yourself clearly and competitively for opportunities in Italy. And before we proceed, I would just like you to take a moment to introduce yourself in the comment section. Let us know your name, the country you are joining us from, and in case you know someone that should be part of this conversation that does not need to miss this session, I bet it with you want to invite them. So you can just share the link with them, go on to this event page, give it a repost, and let them know that we are live. At least somebody's academic opportunity can start with you. So yeah, I want to just welcome a bit of some people that might have been joining us from the session just to know if you are there with us. So we are actually looking forward to welcome you guys on board. Okay, I'm yet to see anyone, but I believe we have people that are joining us online at the moment. And okay, like as part of our culture on this program, before we officially delve into this session, we have that culture of having a very short opening prayer just to acknowledge the presence of God in our midst. So, our Father and our God, we thank you once again for how far you've brought us from the very beginning of the session in September, and now we are wrapping it up this year. Thank you for everyone that has been a beneficiary of this platform. And again, we want to thank you for the wisdom that you have prepared for many people to be able to have access into opportunities in Italy. We commit our speaker into your hand that God, you give him the utterance and the tongue of a learner to speak rightly into every aspect that pertains to the Italian opportunities in the name of Jesus. And thank you, Father, because you've heard and answered. For in Jesus' name of prayed. Amen. All right. So thank you once again. I'm still looking forward to people giving us comments in the like trying to introduce themselves. We want to believe that we are not talking to ourselves here. So please and please, if you are there online, either on YouTube or on LinkedIn, just drop a comment in the session, your name, and just let us know that you can hear us loud and clear. Okay, thank you so much. Iyanu Oluwa, Iyanu Victor. Thank you so much for being our first participant to drop a comment. So thank you so much. That gives me an assurance that everything is actually working well, both on LinkedIn and on YouTube. Okay, so going forward, I would like to introduce our speaker because of the time. We have a lot to do this evening. I want to introduce our speaker for this session in person of Prevail Adewale-Alfred. And I do that by reading his bio so we can know that I brought in the perfect person for this session. Okay, so Prevail is a PhD candidate in European and Global Market Law at the Università degli Studi della Tuscia, Italy. Yes, that's an Italy university, so don't worry about the name. His doctoral research is actually supervised by Professor Mario Savino, which examines protected entry procedures for refugees in the European Union, with a particular focus on humanitarian and university corridors in Italy. He holds advanced degree in security and human rights from the same university and peace and development studies from University of Ilorin in 2022, alongside with his bachelor's in English and international studies from Osun State University in 2016. So his previous research has addressed issues of radicalization, counterterrorism, and conflict representation in literature. So when we say there are scholarship opportunities for people that are non-STEM, I think this is a testament to prove that. So professionally, he has worked with institutions such as the United Nations Development Program, the Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, and the Center for Humanitarian Dialogue, contributing to projects on violent extremism, transparency, and election-related conflicts. So at TUSHIA, he has supported internationalization through roles in the Erasmus program as a tutor for international students. And again, he has received several distinctions, including the one from his current university, which is Università degli Studi della Tuscia, a PhD scholarship from 2024 to 27, and the Tushia Master Scholarship Award in 2021 to 2022. He also got the Regional Scholarship Award in 2022 to 2023 and the Jean Monnet Center Excellence. So by now, I think you guys should be giving our speakers a round of applause in the comment section, because yes, he has been able to receive like 3 awards so far, even in Italy, and that's one of those interesting things that actually prompted me to invite him for this session. So yeah, that's our speaker for today. And looking at his academic journey, his scholarship experience, I believe he has a lot of practical insight to offer us on how to approach the Italian scholarship system. So thank you for joining us, Prevail. We are delighted to have you on board for this session. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you're welcome. Yeah, okay. I see a lot of people joining. So let me just take a bit before we go on board for this session. So I can see Kayode Israel. He says, good evening. This is Achayi Kayode Israel from Nigeria. Thank you so much. And we are excited to have you on board. Then I have Mbeke Chukwuka Unwamini. Sorry if I didn't pronounce it correctly. Good evening. It's nice to have you join us from Lagos. Fumilayo, thank you so much for joining us from Ogun State, Nigeria. Thank you so much. And I also have Adewale joining us from the UK. Thank you so much for tuning in for this session. Okay, so my very first question for you, Prevail, is more of your personal story, in the sense that what actually led you to study in Italy. Like you could have chose to study in the likes of US, Australia, maybe those big countries. So what's prompted to study in Italy, and how did you discover scholarship opportunities in Italy?
So thank you very much for this opportunity. It's very, very nice to be here, to be speaking with everybody that is joining us. As Celia said, my name is Prevail. Um, well, to go straight to your question, so why I am here, I I think I have a very um, I got to Italy via Instagram, basically.
Wow.
And yeah, uh, well, so people say social media is a very strong, negative influence in people's life. Sometimes, most times, I argue it away. If you know how to use social media, you'll get so much opportunity from the
Yeah.
algorithmic, values that you have. Well, essentially, what happened was that for me, I had the opportunity of taking my bachelor's in English and International Studies. And while I completed my studies, I identified two specific programs that I found most interesting for me out of all of the courses that I did in university. And they were related to strategy, defense and security, and military and allied institutions, things like that, conflict studies basically. So I knew right there from the moment I wrote my final exam that I was going to pursue a master's degree in things that are related to security, conflict management, peace generally, And so from that point onwards, I began looking for the right fit for myself. So, well, I wanted to leave Nigeria at the time because I completed my bachelor's in 2016. But of course, you have to do this NYSC thing. So I did it for 1 year. I served in a publishing firm in Ibadan. Many people would know it's called Spectrum Publishers. It's, I think, a bit popular in Nigeria. So I had the opportunity of working there as a junior editor. And I was also kind of like subsumed in the library publishing house. So hundreds, maybe even thousands of books, but I read fairly well in that 1 year period. And I got exposed to many of the conversations around the subject of interest that I had. And so that spurred me on to really want to find a place to study it. So I recognized that if I was going to do it in Nigeria, particularly in the Southwest, there were two places where I could take that course. It was either the University of Ibadan or the University of Ilorin. And well, the University of Ibadan being the fact that the University of Ibadan was the first point of contact for anything peace in Nigeria, peace studies generally in Nigeria. And so I thought of going to the University of Ibadan, but for family reasons, I had to go to Ilorin because that's where I am. I'm from Kwara State. My parents are residing in Ilorin. My mom had missed me for quite some time, being away 4 years in school. So I was basically co-opted to go back to Ilorin. So I went back to Ilorin and then I took my master's program there. Before I finished the master's program, I was already thinking of taking a doctoral program. But the reality was that at the time, opportunities were fairly difficult to find. At this time, it was either you go to Canada, you go to the US, you go to UK, and I'm sure you of all people can relate to how expensive it is to go to those places.
Yeah.
So one, it's very expensive, and then scholarship opportunities too were becoming very competitive at the time.
Yeah.
So I started searching for opportunity. I had a mentor, somebody who was a supervisor for me in the university where I worked closely with. And I think I learned from his own experience. And we had conversations, and he told me, instead of taking a PhD program, why don't you find a second master's degree program somewhere else? Initially, it sounded very funny to me because I felt I completed a master's program. I should be doing a PhD now. I think I can handle what a doctoral program would throw at me. Little did I know that I would still struggle, even with a PhD program. But okay, maybe we'll get there. And so
Yeah.
I considered it, but I think the advice was a very good one because he explained to me that there's a difference between having a PhD grade and a PhD brain, and he felt that what I had done in Nigeria was not enough to nurture a PhD brain. So he suggested that taking a second master's would be very helpful. And eventually I bought into the idea, and then I started looking for security studies related master's opportunities specifically. And so being that, connected, most of the social media platforms that we have now are owned by many corporations that own search engines. So you find that algorithms are interlinked now. So if you're searching for things on Google, you won't be surprised it pops up on your Facebook or on your Instagram and things like that. So I used a couple of platforms to search for opportunities. Many, I can't remember all of the names now. But suddenly I couldn't afford to go to the US. Well, the average Nigerian cannot afford to go to um, I couldn't afford to go to the UK. I wasn't even interested in going to the UK, truthfully, uh, because it felt like an alumnus of my university. Everybody from my university is in the UK. So alumni, well, place for my. So I wanted to go somewhere different, and
Okay.
so I started checking in Europe, because Europe had had its fair share of security issues, specifically terrorism. I'd done terrorism-related works. I'd worked on the Boko Haram crisis in Nigeria. Worked with the Office of the National Security Advisor in some capacity, doing some research in that context in Nigeria. So I was looking for programs in that sense, and I knew that Europe had also faced similar challenges, had a high level of scholarship, writers, authors, thinkers in the topic. So I felt it was not a bad place to go to. So I was looking at places like Germany, France, the Netherlands, universities like Leuven, and some of the other guys there. But like I said initially, Instagram found me out. It was just a random day. There was this ad that just popped up on my Instagram page, and I saw it was my university here that I now study at. And there was a new program that they were starting in security and human rights. It caught my attention. I checked it out. Initially, I was a bit skeptical. Is this real? Is this fake? Is it a scam? So I checked and went on the university website, did my research, and boom, I'm here in Italy. So I'm just going to leave it there. But essentially, I found this opportunity via social media.
That's a
Essentially,
very interesting one. And I think that's a lesson for most people out there to actually take advantage of social media. Like,
yeah,
in
yeah,
as much as so many people say, oh, it's a time waster, it's a destiny waster, or so called, they've tagged it so many things, but then in this 21st century, it's up to you to actually choose what you want to make out of social
what
media.
you
It can
want.
either make
Yeah,
you or it can mar you. People are really getting opportunities and they are making out big time on social media. So that's a very interesting story
absolutely.
anyway. So I
Yeah,
know this is not a news to anyone. At least if you are not on any other social media, LinkedIn is a place whereby you can have access to scholarship opportunities, access to a lot of networks, professors in your field and the like. But yeah, even for me, maybe I should take my Instagram serious as well. All right, so that takes us to the main session for today, which is opportunities in Italy. I believe Italy offers like different scholarships, but for someone
yeah.
like me and maybe other people out there that don't really understand how the process work out, can you just give us like a clear overview of what are the different types of funding available for international students in Italy?
Yes, absolutely. So to start with, I think I'll take a kind of like a concentric position. So, which is I'll go in circles. So the first circle, or well, maybe the outside circle, I would say the government-funded scholarships that you find. So there's a very famous one called the Maechi Scholarship. This is a scholarship Italian government in partnership with public institutions. So it is funded or offered by the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. So what it does essentially is picks, in most cases, I'll say the best of the best students from many countries. So um, that's one, which is like a government scheme. Those, I don't know if sessions on Netherlands, some other country. It's similar to the Orange program in OKP in the Netherlands and other places. France also has similar programs, which are
The Excel
um,
Exhibit Scholarship, that's
sponsored
what I did last.
exactly sponsored specifically by the government of the state. Then at the second circle, I would say I'll speak to university funded scholarships. All right, so these are scholarships that are domiciled within different university institutions. And then the last circle in the middle, I would call them regional or needs-based scholarships. So these are scholarships that are based on the principle or the European principle of the right to education, which is more or less like a fundamental right that is accrued to every citizen and every person that lives with the European Union. So the Italian regional scholarship based on the right to education, right to study. So it's basically a need-based scholarship. Also has some merit requirements, but usually focuses on a need-based, position. So from a from looking outside, these are kind of like the three broad types of scholarships that you have. Also, there are sometimes scholarships funded by corporations or institutions, usually also in partnerships with university institutions. So memorandums of understandings are signed between universities and other partners, like sometimes banks, um, or sometimes you find humanitarian organizations or churches in some cases fund specific, scholarship opportunities within universities, and then those universities, were dependent on this criteria of selection that the university and the parties then they go forward with it. So these are kind of like the three main positions. You have the government funded scholarships. My is the major one. You have university funded scholarships, and then you have the regional scholarship that is need based, mostly need based. So it assesses the candidates on their family income, something like that, and their actual need to help, basically. So all of these have advantages and disadvantages, and maybe subsequently, I don't want to preempt your questions, so maybe we'll go into the conversation.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I believe for those that following would be able to take notes. So when it comes to Italy, we have three funded opportunities: the government one, the university one, as well as the regional one, which is more of the need based. And I'm going to still follow up on that same question, which is about among these three scholarship now, which one do you think would you advise international students to go for first? Should they look
Yeah.
first into the government one? Like, which one is like easy to get among these three scholarships?
Well, so it's a bit complex, but I will try my best to break it down.
Break it down.
Um,
Yeah.
so for relocation purposes and purposes of your visa, the first two scholarship opportunities are the best. I'll use myself as an example. I got a university funded scholarship,
Yeah.
and I applied for my visa, for instance, on a Wednesday morning, and got my visa approved the following Friday.
Hmm.
So I got my visa in about 2 or 3 days, if I'm not mistaken. I think 3 days. I think I applied on it, and I got the notification of the visa on a Friday. So if you're looking at scholarship for, because it's kind of like an invitation letter, the institution is taking responsibility for you, and so you're not bothered about financial commitment as somebody who, for instance, does not have a scholarship. So it helps you with your financial commitment, with your visa, officers, and then you get your visa also on time. Some people say they get it in a week. Some people even get it stamped on the spot. Some people get it in 2 days. Some get it in 3 days. So for that purpose, I would advise, and for many other reasons also, I would advise that um, applicants focus on the government-funded scholarships and university-funded scholarships. It is more prestigious. They are more merit-based. They also help you with your visa process, and they also smoothen your arrival, and your consistent stay in the country. For instance, the Maechi scholarship, I think, if I'm not mistaken, has a cap of about €1,000 every month that is paid to the beneficiary of the scholarship.
Okay.
Also, you get sites covered,
Yeah.
and then in some cases, yeah, exactly. In some cases, you also get accommodation, a place to stay while you're there, and all of that. So, um, that's for my HE. The university scholarships might not be as, um, might not be on the same pay grade.
Yeah.
Sometimes university scholarships will pay about €8,000 in a year. Remember that it is calculated by the academic year. So the academic year in Italy is 10 months. So 5 months for the first semester, 5 months for the second semester. So in most cases, the student gets maybe around €800 every month from university scholarships. And it is paid, you rent your apartment, you're staying. Some cases, universities have dormitories for students. You're paying, something less than you will pay if you rent by yourself. In most cases, you're not paying for bills, you're not paying water, electricity, gas, all of that. So in the
Exactly.
first 1 year or first 2 years, depending on the condition of the scholarship itself, you're free from paying bills. Well, I enjoyed something like that also. I wasn't paying, I was just paying rent, basically. I wasn't paying the extra bills, so you have your money to do some other things that you need to do.
Okay.
So the third one that I spoke about, the regional scholarships that are more need-based, I would advise students to not focus on them as uh, scholarships for, how do I put it now? For relocation.
Okay.
Because with the current trend, the Italian consulate and the Italian embassy in Nigeria, I mean, the one in Lagos is the consulate, the one in Abuja is the embassy, do not recognize regional scholarships as invitational letters.
Hmm.
They recognize that it is based on your needs. And so, with a regional scholarship, you're still expected to prove that you can take care of yourself, essentially. So,
All right. Sorry,
for
just to interrupt you. Those on LinkedIn,
yeah,
please, is the link working? I'm getting a message that the link isn't working. Please let me know by trying to give me a response in the DM because I'm not actually on LinkedIn. So please, if you can hear us, you can see us, and you can actually get across to us, please let us know in the comment section just to be sure that everything is fine from our end. Henry, are you there? Okay. For those on YouTube, please can you confirm if you can hear us and if everything is fine from there? That's strange. We are waiting for you just to confirm. I know there should not be any issue at the moment with what we are doing. Okay. Chukwuka, thank you so much. Maybe Emmanuel, you need to figure out what is wrong from your own hand. Thank you so much. Yeah, you can go ahead, Prevail. Thank you.
okay. So I was speaking to the regional scholarships. Yes, they are very useful. In fact, in most cases, I try to encourage people who do not benefit from either the government Maechi scholarship or university scholarships to still apply for regional scholarships, but to apply knowing that it is not a scholarship that can be presented as an invitational letter at the embassy or at the consulate for your visa. It won't help your visa process. In fact, in most cases, it will do more damage to your visa process than help you, because it's a need-based scholarship,
Yeah.
so it will show contradiction, because you have applied showing that, oh, I need some financial help to some extent, and now when you're applying for your visa, you have to treat, oh, I have sufficiently enough to take care of myself. So you see, it's a very contradicting,
Stuff.
position. But nonetheless, I still encourage people to apply and not disclose it at their visa,
Um.
interview or the submission. Just
Okay.
apply for yourself, particularly for those who are looking at self-sponsored positions. Well, maybe that's not in the scope we're discussing, but I think it's important to also chip it in. But
All right.
specifically to enjoy scholarship, positions, take the first one, or university-funded scholarships. I think the university-funded ones are a lot more easy to get, because there are
Okay.
many universities with many positions. But the Maechi scholarship is, very, and um, limited number of slots, competitive. But the university ones, you have almost 200 universities in this country, and some of those universities have 10, 15 scholarship positions every year. So if you're making multiple applications to two positions, universities rather, you can still get one, you can still get two,
Yeah.
and then you get to choose where you want to go. So I would strongly advise for university scholarships.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think you actually hit the nail on the head. So it's not like we are beating about the bush. I, as an international student looking for opportunity, I know exactly which one to go for. So it's either I'm going for the university-based one or possibly the government scholarship. Okay,
Mhm.
so I just want to ask as a follow-up to that question again. Now we are focusing on the government scholarship as well as the university one. So can you just advise us how do we go through the application process for each of this process? Is it also through the university if you're applying for the government scholarship? Is it also through the university you need to put in for admission first? How does it work? Yeah.
Okay. So for the university scholarships, you have to apply directly to the university, and usually the requirement differs from university to university. Some will tell you, okay, let me speak uh, to my own experience. So what I had to do was that I applied to the university, and then after applying to the university, I got a, a notice for an interview, right? So I attended that interview. The first interview phase, submitted all of my applications, everything was for the admission to the university. So after I got admitted to the university, then I had to use the admission letter that I had gotten to apply for the scholarship, right? So then I applied for the scholarship, and then there was a selection process that happened based on your application for the scholarship, your performance at the first interview that you had done, and then maybe your documents, your profile generally, and then you're shortlisted for the second stage, which is more or less to then compete for the scholarship positions. So I had to then attend a second interview, which was at this time for the scholarship. So it was I applied first for the admission, got the admission, then used the admission documents to apply for the scholarship, got selected for the scholarship, and then for the scholarship interview, took that interview, and then I got the scholarship. Some
Wow.
universities have one process. While you're applying for the admission, you also get an automatic application for the scholarship. So you don't have to do separate applications like I did. So if you qualify for the scholarship selection process, you're notified immediately after you get the admission to say, hey, congratulations, you got the admission. You also qualify for a scholarship opportunity. So you have to do A, B, C, and D, right? And then you get it if you qualify. So that's for the university. I think it's pretty straightforward. You Just check the university website, the requirements, and when you check the university website, okay, so again, Italy is a bit different. What they do is that they release calls, publications. So on university website, you will see the publications for specific scholarship programs. Some will be for women in tech, or some will be for um, uh, international students generally, globally. And so within the call that is published, you will read and you see, for instance, the countries that qualify. Oh, Nigeria qualifies, so everybody from Africa qualifies, so people from Latin America qualify, or people from Asia qualify. You see all of that. Then you see the number of positions that are available. You see how much is to be paid. In most cases, they don't publish it on the university website like an essay, like you find maybe with UK schools or in the US, where you find uh, all of those informations. In most cases with Italy, there are calls, scholarship calls. So it will be like a PDF, that will be uploaded on a section of the university website. You have to download it, sit down, read it. You might be unlucky, it might be in Italian. You have to use your Google Translator to translate the document to get what you
Okay.
want, truthfully. And so also when the results of the publications are announced, which is, oh, then the interview selection is completed, all of that, they will publish another publication, a call again, to show you, oh, as per the previous call that was made, those who applied, this is the outcome of that, interview process that we had. So students were selected. We wanted to select 10. These 10 are winners, and unfortunately, these next 15 are just eligible. So they have what we call a concurso system, which is like everybody falls into the ranking. So if somebody out of the first 10 probably has an opportunity somewhere else and they decide to withdraw from that scholarship opportunity, automatically the person that comes after them gets invited immediately to take up that slot. So they have that kind of system where everybody, as far as you are eligible, you are on the ranking. But those who are clearly winners will be separated from those who are eligible. So, but if anybody, one, two, three, or four persons from those who are winners decide to opt out of the opportunity, fall below, move into the scholarship position. So that's for universities. It is pretty much forward. You might need to pay application fees. Italian universities now are becoming very
Also
money
competitive.
centric. Exactly.
Okay.
So, and it's also a way of eliminating unserious applicants. Let's put it that way. So it's not as expensive as Canada or the US. The US, I know sometimes you pay $50, $70, $100 in some cases, sometimes €10,
10. Yeah, 10, 15.
15, 25, 20 euros. I know it's still a lot for somebody in Nigeria, truthfully. I don't want to sound insane, right? But at the same time, they ask for, they're beginning to ask for application fees now. While I was applying, there were no application fees. You apply, you get in, and that's it. But now to access opportunities at the university level, you need to pay the application fee, find the information, choose the course that you want, apply to that course. And if you're lucky enough, the application also already guarantees you a position within the scholarship considerations. For Maechi, similar. The call is published. This is published on the Maechi website. So Maechi has a dedicated website. Maechi is spelled Maeci. So if you check the Maechi website, every time when there is a new call, it's uploaded there, and everything that the applicant needs to do is essentially explained within that call. So in Italy, the call is gold. Read the call, read the publication, and you find everything in there, right? Just once you recognize, I want to go to the University of Milan, I want to go to the University of Siena, I want to go to the University of Tuscia, I want to go to University of Florence. sit down on the website of University of Florence, open it page by page. You'll find the course there, read the course. With Maechi, it's also the same. Go to the Maechi website, the informations are there. I think with Maechi, I think you have to identify a university that you want, and then do your application, send all of your, documents and everything. But I think this is purely on the Maechi website. So you do that, the Italian Ministry for, Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. So that portal is dedicated to the application that students, do for Maechi. You create an account on that platform, and then you do everything on there. Then there's an evaluation and selection process where it is done in the Italian diplomatic missions. So I mean the consulates, the embassies in your countries. So there are approved academic and administrative committees that do all of those evaluation in your country. So for instance, if I'm applying from Nigeria, I know that there is an academic and administrative committee that sits on all of the applications that is coming from Nigeria. So they check all of the applications, they check everything, and then selection is made. So they do evaluation by academic merit, by the coherence of your research or your study plan, your language competence, the quality of the whole institution, all of those things. Then maybe sometimes I think they also look at the strategic cooperation priorities that Italy has with your country. So, for instance, if Italy has signed a memorandum of understanding with Niger Republic, for instance, on uranium, and I want to leave from Niger Republic to go study, say, quantum physics or something in Italy, there is a clear, strategic cooperation priority there. So that also gives you, more advantage. So essentially, either looking at through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, looking at how do we benefit from the educational opportunities that students who are living from this specific country in relation with our own priority, our own national interest, and all of that. So that comes to the evaluation criteria for Maechi. A bit complex. Picks usually selects, in most cases, the best of the best in relation to the relationship between the both countries, and then video also wants to do. So then there's a publication of the results. Again, publication. The result is published, and then you are invited. In most cases, I think you're invited to the consulate or the embassy to have a face-to-face interview session with that. And so afterwards, the visa is granted. So this is a bit more straightforward because you don't have to do separate interviews and all of that. You apply through Maechi. Maechi considers you for the academic opportunity, and then automatically also considers you for the visa opportunity. So if you don't get the academic through Maechi, you don't get the visa opportunity. But with university, if you get the scholarship opportunity, you have to still go by yourself. That's the difference between the two. But if you get the scholarship based in the universities, you with your visa. So that's why I still advocate for the university scholarship.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. I think you've given us a bit of much elaborate details into the two scholarship, the government one as well as the university-based one. And yeah, for most of us here, it's just to draw our attention to the fact that you need to pay much attention to details. You need to do your own research. You might not be able to go in details about, okay, this is what each university
Right.
actually requires. Because looking at it, you see that even if it's a university-based scholarship, the process actually differs from one university to other university. So the most important thing that even if it's in Italian language, the good thing is you can use a Google Translator to translate whatsoever the eligibility requirement is, what they are looking for, and how they want you to go about the admission. But I love the fact that he was able to state that, okay, you put in for admission, they consider you either for separately for another application for scholarship, you go for interviews, and they look into one or two things and you get selected. And for the government one, that's a separate thing. Like you are dealing with them directly, so it's makes it more
Directly.
easier because it's like a
Yeah.
two in one thing. You get your admission, your
Yeah.
university, your scholarship,
And
your
then you go
visa,
to the
everything directly with the government scholarship. So
exactly,
I think
exactly.
I was also checking their website as well just to see how everything works. So it's very important that if you're interested in any of this opportunity, you just pay the price of diligence to check out more details on their website, whichsoever university you are looking forward to apply for. Okay, you mentioned something
Mhm.
about, oh, Italy has like 200 universities and then, like, of course, I know people looking at the whole scape of everything, people want to focus or cut down their quota according to their size and just focus on university scholarships. But then, how do you actually advise person? Because it's going to be difficult looking for 200 universities or looking for a lot of university at a go.
Correct.
Is there a specific websites, or how do people actually look out for universities that align to their field of interest? I know some university might be focused on maybe tech, some can be conventional universities, some can have a specific based program. So how can they navigate all these processes within the university application system?
Uh, so there is a common website that is used by all of the universities. In fact, if you're applying to a university in Italy, you have to go through that website. It's Universitali. So Univers Italy. If you check on that website, it shows you a list of all of the academic institutions of learning, higher institutions of learning that you find in Italy. It will then show you those who have programs on offer in English language. Uh, so there's a filter button on that website that you can use to filter out whatever it is that you need to find. If you need to find programs in business and administration, if you need to find programs in STEM, if you need to find programs in humanities and law, if you need to find programs in social sciences, that website is more or less the best place to begin your search. So universitally, maybe if you're speaking now, it might be a bit complex, but um, there are examples I think you'll find on YouTube of people studying in Italy already who have demonstrated how to use Universe Italy. So Universe Italy, type it together and then just search for it. It's a website where I think it's very similar to what you have with France also. I think there's study in France. There's a website like that,
Yeah,
study in France.
campus.
Campus France.
Yeah.
Campus France. Without that Campus France, you're not going anywhere if you want to study in France. Without Universitally, you're not going anywhere if you want to study in Italy. So it is the best platform to start from. Go on Universitally and use the filter options to look through the courses as per what you want. There are search boxes there. It can help you streamline your courses as per the universities that offer those courses specifically. Then another thing that I do, and I know that not everybody has the capacity, although we're all still learning to do, web optimized searches, is to use Google. Use Google. Essentially, what I mean is to just use search words like master programs in, for instance, chemical engineering in Italy. I'm going to see already curated websites that have already curated universities where these programs are available. I know that many of us, sometimes we don't have time, we're busy with other things. Many of us are maybe married, children, our jobs and all of that. But it won't take you more than 10, 15 minutes sometimes to do these things. So a simple Google search, which was one thing that I did very well, a lot. And I think it also helped me to really refine my own search, to know which country or which university has a very strong foundation or has a very strong basis, in this program. So if I find a university where I want to do finance, for instance, say I checked masters in finance in Italy, and I see 4 or 5 universities, I'm going to then go into the websites of those universities and read for myself. Possibly look for the LinkedIn pages of those universities, the Facebook page of that university, look for the YouTube page of that university, just to get a visual and an audio visual representation of what that university does, or what that specific department in that university does. And then from there, I can see if maybe there's a Nigerian that has studied there before. Maybe there's somebody from Ghana that has studied there before, that is platformed on any of the university, social media platforms. I can then network, reach out to that person and say, hey, good morning, good afternoon. I'm so person. I'm interested in studying in your university. Sorry, could you give me a quick feedback on what the conditions of study are and all of the rest? So the most important thing is to actually streamline what you're looking for. If I'm looking for a master's in human resources, I know I'm looking for a master's in human resources. If I'm looking for a PhD in law, I know I'm looking for a PhD in law. And in that way, even when you do your Google search, it helps you to really identify which universities I can select from. It shows you the options. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Thank you very much. And so that's the website that I was speaking about. So platform, you will find all of the universities in Italy, all of the courses on all. Pay attention to universities that have programs in English language, because Italy, of course, is very late to the international scene. They've not been on the international scene, particularly with courses in English language for, I think it's maybe 6 years now that Italy started offering many courses in English language, but it's rapidly growing, and this might be the best time to tap into education in Italy because of the growth that it is experiencing. And so, yeah, those are maybe the two, but this website certainly will help a lot, but also optimized searches on Google will also help a lot. But don't do those optimized searches in isolation. When you search for those places, also go to other platforms and look at that university. Pay attention to what they do. Find a professor from there. Read some of their publications just to understand what exactly it is that you're about into, uh, by what they do there. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prevail. I really appreciate it. Like, I think you've given us a bit of insight on how people can actually navigate the application process through a streamlined search, either
Yeah.
using Google or the Universitali website,
Yeah.
or going directly to even to the university website. So I think it's something we need to pay attention to. Okay, so for the next question, I want to ask now, going with the fact, I just want to I want you to elaborate more on the eligibility requirements, because I know it might differ from university to university. Just like just briefly, I know you mentioned the application fees. I don't
Yeah.
know if they are also requesting for English language test. I know they are the base. We have the basics of this bachelor certificate, the transcript, and everything like that. So, what
Yeah.
other things do you think students need to gather early for their application?
Yeah, of course, the items that you mentioned, because also when you go for your before you take your visa appointment with Italy, you need to do what is called a legalization. So, which is more or less, everybody that comes to Europe does an authentication, which is you go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja, the Ministry of Education in Abuja, to authenticate your documents. So usually you go with your birth certificate, with your WAEC, with your bachelor's degree certificate or your master's degree certificate, as the case may be, your transcripts, and yeah, I think that's it fairly.
Is
As
it before the
concerning
admission or after they've gained the admission and the scholarship that they need to
So
do all
this
this
is
on?
after you've gained
Okay. I was
the admission.
asking.
But
All right.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I know. But saying this because the documents you will need for the admission might slightly be different from the documents you need for the visa. For the admission, standardly you need your degree certificate, either your master's degree or your bachelor's degree certificate, and your transcript. In most cases, you need those two, right? Uh, for language proficiency, specifically because many of us will be applying for programs in English, uh, if you have studied in your university previously in English language, it is largely acceptable here in Italy to have a proficiency letter from that university, right? Some universities, I must say, might organize a face-to-face conversation with you from the department just to actually verify that you speak at least B2 English level, and so some of them would do that. Some might even ask for you to submit either a copy of your IELTS test results, if you have TOEFL test results, if you have them. Some of them would take Duolingo from you if you have it, just so that they can actually do verify. So, but from my own experience and from the experience of many of those who have come after me, it is very relaxed here. There isn't so much pressure on you to demonstrate that you can speak in English. In fact, I can say, you can quote me anywhere, that you speak better English than your professors, than your Italian professors. So they know that you're coming from Nigeria. They know that you speak officially English, and so it's not so much of a major problem. But at the same time, based on the quality of the university, sometimes the university has a specific language and they stick to it, because there's this conversation around the quality of, recognition of qualification. How do we actually quantify the education that somebody has gotten outside of Europe? Europe has a Bologna educational system. There's this ECTS that they use and all of that. And so transferring your system into the European system sometimes can be very confusing for them. So some of them have built rigid systems to, safeguard against guardrails. So it depends on the university, but to a large extent, you're really free. So if you have like a language proficiency letter from your university, that should suffice. And if your admission process includes an interview with the department or with professors from the university, you should recognize, therefore, that process, that interview is not only looking at your merits, at your qualification, it is also meant to examine your language proficiency. So largely the interviews serve a dual or multiple functions. In fact, they look at your composure, they listen to you at your research plan or your study plan, all of that, see how well you can actually demonstrate your language proficiency. So with Italy, those documents, usually what you need is just your certificate, the degree, transcript, and then if you have your language proficiency letter, put it. If you've taken IELTS before, but even if it has expired, still include it. It still demonstrates that you have a language test.
Of proficiency. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And maybe for those that maybe non-Nigerian audience, I know you mentioned something about authentication with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So I know every country has their way of how do I call
If
it?
if I may
Legalizing.
quickly chip in for that, for those who are listening to us that are not Nigerians, the authentication process is necessary for Nigerians because we're not signatory to the Hague Convention, which is the apostille convention. So countries like South Africa, for instance, that are signatory to the Hague Convention, which is the apostille, have a separate consideration. They no longer have to take the authentication from their government, but Nigerian universities do not carry that specific stamp or that specific logo that is recognized by all of the other countries that were signatory or that are signatory. Well, the convention was in 1960. Nigeria was just a baby at 1960. So and so for that reason, the government of Nigeria still has to authenticate your documents to show that this was granted by a university that is within the Nigerian University Commission, essentially.
Okay. Thank you so much for the clarification. So we know that this is a common issue with the Nigerian system. Okay, thank you so much. Going for the next question. I think you didn't mention anything about CV, motivational letter,
Okay.
essays for admission process. So I was thinking maybe
Yes,
it's
yes.
just as easy as that.
No, 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 no. That
So
was why I
just
said that was why I said the regular documents, right? You have
okay.
to put that also in most cases. In fact, in some cases, some universities will send you a document to prepare. So, for instance, I have a master's in security and human rights. It's a law program. So, for many of my colleagues who got in, they were sent like legal cases that you have to analyze. And then on the day of your interview, that is what you have to come and defend. In
Ah,
some cases, you're sent articles to read and to respond to those questions are asked to you based on the documents that are sent. But of course, your CV, your motivation letter, these are all, I didn't mention it because I felt it's common knowledge. Well, you've done how many series? How many you've done since September up until December? So I think everybody here already knows that you need your CV, you need your motivation letter. In some cases, you need a reference letter. It just depends on the requirements of the university. But I said standard, your degree and the transcript, and then all of the other addendum documents.
yeah, thank you for that. I just want us to be clear about it so they won't say, ah, you didn't mention it in the session, so maybe it wasn't required. Okay, still on that same CV and motivational letter. I know when we started the session, you sort of mentioned something about what the Maestri government scholarship actually look into for your application documents, because some of them they are more interested in how you want to contribute the knowledge, maybe back in your home country, or if they have a bilateral agreement with the country that you are from. So, is there a way that maybe applicants, and I'm going to take it together now, both for government and the university scholarship now, is there a way applicants can actually communicate their academic interest and connections, or maybe to a particular team of the university, maybe what a particular professor is doing? So, how can they demonstrate this in their CV or the motivational letter? Just briefly.
I, I think you've asked a very, very important question, because I think many people who do not get scholarships do not get it because they cannot clearly tell stories in writing. It's very important to be able to tell very good stories that show of yourself, what you've done, what you want to do, and things like that. And again, beyond that, I think it is also important for applicants or attending applicants to recognize that um, there is always a need to balance together what you've done before and what you want to do. So I'll use myself again as an example because, well, I can speak for myself and maybe not for anybody else. I had done language in my bachelor's, you know, English language, international studies. I did a master's in peace and conflict studies. I did, and then I wanted to get a scholarship for a program in security and human rights. Programs that are different, but also linked intrinsically if you look at it. The only way I could link it was to focus my motivation letter on the thesis that I wrote for both my bachelor's and my master's program. So, my bachelor's program, I wrote on conflict representation in literature, and I was looking at the Biafran Civil War, essentially, you know. And then my master's, I still focused on counterterrorism in Nigeria, which is I used, Kaduna State as the center focus of my work. So what I was doing essentially with my motivation letter was to paint a picture of a consistent interest, not only in my studies, but also in my own personal research and even in my publications, that shows that I have been interested in issues related to conflict, the representation of conflict, and then preventing conflict in its sense. And the fact that doing the next program would then help me to include a new dimension, which is the protection of people, in conflict, basically. So it is important to be able to find a way, not even essentially with maybe your transcript, the courses you did, but to be able to tell a story to tell a real story that connects everything that you've been doing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then impress on the mind of the next person or the person who reads it, to show that this person coming from a specific trajectory. There's a point where this person is coming from. And doing the next program would enrich what they've been doing before and would allow them to continue in this line. So for me, it was to do to show that I had done conflict representation in literature, in books, conflict policy, essentially, and then now to look at the human angle of conflict, which is, problems with refugees, and many other things that come on board happens to sorry, I lost my network for a minute, and many of the other things that happen to refugees, were victims of violence or victims of conflict, people whose rights are violated and things like that. So I think that for me was the secret. Now, if I have to write another one again, what I would do would be to link those two with what I have done at my master's level again, and then to link it with how I have then worked on how states proscribe groups that are terrorist groups, the use of the law against terrorist groups. And then if I have to go further again to write, so essentially it is important to be able to paint a picture of the things that you are doing or the things that you have done. There are many styles that you can use. There's a personal story style where you're writing a personal story of perhaps something that happened to you before or something. There's also a style where you're writing essentially on the topic, on the context of your research. There are multiple styles to use. I think it is just important to be able to tell very, very good stories that tally with your documents, with everything that you have. For instance, I won't be applying to a program in entrepreneurship studies, and I'll be writing my document, my motivation letter to show that I worked in an administrative capacity. I won't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I will write to show that I have some entrepreneurship experience, in the sense of maybe I started a business that failed 2, 3 times and I had to do A, B, C, and D, and then find a way to link it also with the academia, because you're going into the academics, and to find a way to essentially balance it out. Another thing that you could do is, if you maybe have an idea of the selection committee, you can write to the strength of that committee. So if I see a call and I see 3, 4 professors on that call, I am going to go and read what they've written. I will go and sit down on their Google Scholar page and read at least 2, 3 of their publications and see the academic bias that they have, even though it might not completely relate with mine. But I am going to use that, the affiliation that they have towards that academic bias, to my own advantage. And so it is important to be able to find what works specifically for you. Our stories are different. I can't, of course, I can speak to my own experience, right? But you can't teach. I can't take anybody to. You say the Yoruba people say "Elimeshi," also though you can take the horse to the stream, but you can't
Yes.
force them to drink. So it is just important to find something that works and to be able to write really good stories. If you, I don't know, maybe, well, maybe I'm a bit of a storyteller myself anyways, but I think that helps. It has helped me many times. Really, it has helped me many times. And also to be able to find a writing style that works for you, a writing style that works for you, something that you are so confident doing. If I have to write a motivation letter now, I already know what I am going to do. I know certain things that I'm going to do paragraph by paragraph. For instance, the first paragraph, I might start very obscure statements that will get you so hooked to what I am writing that by the time you read to the end, you probably want to turn it to the next page, thinking it's a storybook. It's not a storybook, but it is something that I've thought about curated over some time. It's just like you are writing your own biography. That's the way I see it, but in
Mm,
one page.
mhm, mhm,
In one page. So able to really find those clues, the things you've done. If I've worked as a fuel attendant in a place and I want to write a motivation letter for a program in sustainability, I am going to use the experience of working as a fuel attendant to my strength to say I have seen how the unsustainable use of resources as a first and there are so many ways that we can rewrite, and I think again many of us are heavily reliant on ChatGPT. Please, I am begging you in the name of God and everything that you hold dear, stop it. Please. I'm not saying don't use it, really. I'm not saying don't use it. Use it to refine your words, use it to refine, but your first draft should be yours.
yeah, should be your
Your
voice.
first draft should be your words. If you now need to find how to put the right commas and the right full stop and where the apostrophe is and all of that, okay, maybe. But not to tell ChatGPT, write a I will know you use ChatGPT, and then you're losing positions that way. Tell original stories that link all of your profile essentially together in a way where it helps you to really stand out.
Mm,
It helps you to stand out from the crowd because in most cases, say you have one interview opportunity, that one interview opportunity, something bad might happen. You might be coming from work, the rain beats you, you get back home, the network is bad, you're not very prepared. But a motivation letter will go a long way than your own preparation might go.
mhm,
You know,
yeah.
for instance, I had a colleague who had a one chance experience and they were supposed to attend an interview after that experience. The trauma of having been in one chance, almost lost their life and all of that. They couldn't prepare for the interview. But what eventually got them through was the documentation that they prepared, motivation letter, the seriousness in the way they put together their words. What's on marble, what you write, you might not be able to say. Not everybody has that, oral capacity to really demonstrate their knowledge or their capacity or whatever. But sometimes if you can sit down and put everything in proper context, it goes a long, long, long way. Again, please, in the name of God, and in the van Bosch and go, all of that, I beg you with it too. Avoid ChatGPT. Okay, so let me stop.
All right. Thank you so much. Sorry for those that are non Yoruba native speakers. Yeah, just bear with us. So I know it's just out of passion. It's just trying to demonstrate to avoid the use of AI tools, not even ChatGPT alone. We have a lot of them out there
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
easy to detect all these things in your essays. And that one is also a red flag the moment your reviewers can spot it in your essay. So, and I intentionally asked that question so we can just elaborate more on the motivational essays. I know this is where students actually struggle with. They'll be like, I don't know what to write, I don't know how to write it. But for God's sake, this is your story, like who you are.
You
Where are
are,
you
yeah,
coming from? Where are you at the moment? And where are you going? So that's
going to.
exactly what the motivational letter, personal statement, whatever name you want to
Yeah,
give it now,
yeah,
that is exactly
yeah.
what they are looking forward to. But then you must be able to articulate it in such a way that it can convince the reader that, okay, you are not just sugarcoating everything. It is real, like
Absolutely. Yeah,
very real. This
correct,
is
correct.
what you want to see in your essay. It
Yeah,
doesn't need to be
yeah,
a perfect grammar, it doesn't need to be a perfect English, but then you can
mm,
convey your word. What you are saying in your motivational letter, it aligns with what is in your CV. You are not saying
correct.
A in your CV and you are not saying Z in your
In your
motivational
motivation
letter.
letter.
Or you start A in paragraph A and you jump to G in paragraph
Paragraph.
2. So
Exactly.
it's something that you
Yeah,
need to build a flow, like let it be
yeah.
consistent. Let the paragraph link to one another. When you are saying, okay, this is
Another.
grew up, what affected you, what motivated you to study. You must tell us, okay, this is what you studied in your paragraph 2 and how it actually motivated you to maybe pursue this larger course, maybe in paragraph 3. And you also want to tell them why
Correct.
you are interested in that scholarship in that particular university. And please don't make
Exactly.
a mistake of, okay, this university is the biggest university in Italy, please.
No,
I know I
no,
have seen a lot of
don't,
I've
yeah.
seen a lot of that. So you need to go beyond the facilities, the university itself. Look into a professor. What is a professor doing in that course that that actually aligns to your own
With
research?
what you're doing.
Talk
Mm,
about it and talk about how you want to use that to solve a global problem. So these people
yeah.
are looking for leaders, like global thinkers, people that can actually come up with innovation to solve a particular problem. So I don't
Yeah.
want to go in details, but I intentionally asked that question so we can have idea of how this whole SOP works and what the reviewers are actually looking for in your SOP. So I hope that
Mhm.
actually helps
Mhm.
someone out there. Thank you so much, Prevail. I think to my next
Thank you.
question, been able to answer it in such a way, but then I don't know for some people that maybe they are a bit concerned about the language requirement of a thing. I know it's not compulsory, but to what extent does that actually influence your chances of securing a scholarship in Italy?
Oh, it really helps. It helps a lot. Particularly for those that might be looking at PhD opportunities, it will help you faster. As we know, PhD opportunities are a lot more difficult to find master's opportunities. We had that conversation, and so I think with Italy is still a bit traditional. Let me put it. The universities are a lot more the professors are still very traditional. Many of them are still stuck to their language, their culture, preserving their own identity and all of that. So they become more open to you when nice that you, to some extent, speak the language. Now, I'm not saying that this is a barrier. No, there are hundreds of Nigerian students here who do not speak more than ciao, buongiorno, come stai, all of that. You know, basta, stop. That's all they speak. But they are here. They are doing their programs in English. They are living their lives and all of that. But in the real sense of it, particularly for those who are looking at PhD opportunities, possibly postdoctoral opportunities, you'll be working with people in those faculties who are more intense with the way they will deal with you as PhD students. So, to some level, they want you to be able to quickly, grasp what they are saying in the context of the raw essence of their own language. And so it helps you, particularly for PhD, to speak the language. It is not compulsory. Again, it is not compulsory, but it is helpful. So, and also because you're competing with Italian students at the level of PhDs, and they all speak Italian and they all speak English. So you have to be able to also match up at that level to show that yes, your students speak in English, I speak better English, they speak in Italian, maybe they speak better Italian than me, but I can handle myself. So that's why I usually encourage people. I know it is difficult, but please, if you can, find an Italian school in Nigeria before you leave Nigeria. Sincerely, it will help. I have first-hand experience with students from Cameroon and students from places like Tunisia and Morocco. They learn Italian to at least a B2 level before they step their foot here. And so it helps them drastically beyond those of us that are Nigerians or Ghanaians, those of us that are Anglophone. If you speak French already, you have kind of like two um, foreign languages into, well, let me say European languages. Well, English is also European. What am I saying? So, but it helps you to learn Spanish faster. It helps you to learn Italian faster. It helps you to learn Portuguese faster. But the fact that they speak Italian, it helps them also with integration, with the relationships that they build with their professors, with the relationship that they build with their colleagues. And so it is important. Your research work as a PhD student or as a master student, you might need to collect your data in Italy. You might be doing something that is focused here. How do you go about it? Are you going to take somebody who is a translator, pay a translator, or find a friend? So, well, for your application, for chances of application, it might not really matter. But on arrival, for your, life here, and for, your studies and your research and everything that you have to do, certainly it matters. Certainly it matters. And so for that reason, please don't make the same mistake that I made when I came in 2021. Um, my Italian is still not the best, but at least my understanding of the language has greatly improved. So when you're speaking it to me, I understand what you're saying. About 60-70% of the conversation I can follow. But when it comes to responding to you, I am still struggling to, because the grammar is very difficult. But nonetheless, it is possible to learn it. There are Nigerians here who speak the language already. There are Ghanaians who speak the language. But I will say specifically for PhD applicants, for those who are looking to apply for PhD positions, please and please try. For master students, yes, you can come in. The workload is not as heavy as that for master students. So you can still find a way to navigate with the language on arrival. And then please learn it on arrival. But for your chances, it really doesn't have so much impact on your chances to get scholarships or the rest. It could be a bonus for you, but it is not a required criteria.
Okay.
But you can imagine if you're speaking to me as somebody from China and you begin to speak in Yoruba, whatever opportunity you want, I'll give it to you, right? So it's the same like that too.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I intentionally asked that because some people think because they might experience language barrier, so they don't want to also explore opportunities in how do I call it, native speaking countries. So it's very important that we clear it out. Maybe for your masters, it's not that important to have the knowledge of the language, but because yeah, PhD is like 3-4 years. You are going. There's no way you just want to avoid these people. You will be part of their culture, the
Exactly.
environment, either in the lab, in the streets, and everything. So even if it's just a bit of it, you want to learn and be able to integrate into the academic system as well as the culture of the country. So yeah, thank you so much for enlightening us on that. Okay, I think we've covered everything about the application and as well as the benefit because I think that was the first thing he even talked about because I had the plan of asking question on that. So I think he has also did justice to that question. But then I just because I want us to be rounding up as quick as
Mhm.
possible. I just want you to demonstrate like what is life like as an international scholar in Italy, maybe in terms of the academic environment, cost of living, cultural adaptation, as well as general support systems that are available to students in Italy.
Okay, so maybe I will still ask those questions again but let's pick it one by one. Let's start from maybe cultural adaptation, and then I will go to
Cost of
the academic
living.
expectation.
Okay.
Cultural adaptation, um, well, so you're coming from a place that is 34, 35 degrees every day in Nigeria. I grew up in Ilorin. It's almost sometimes 40, 45 degrees in some places in Ilorin sometimes. You're coming to Europe where it is sometimes 2, 1. You can see my sister here and that 4 on her neck. You see me with sweater, ba? Uh-huh. So, so prepare yourself for the cold, basically, right? Well, in Italy, it doesn't get cold all the time. It's about 6 months, 6 and 6. 6 months of very warm weather, months of very cold weather. So it is, but at least in the region where I am, it is very good. But in northern Italy, Milan, it gets way colder. You get to -5, -6 in places like northern Italy. But that aside, Italians are more or less Nigerians. Let me put it that way. Very loud, very boisterous. When they're making phone calls too, it's just the way we are shouting on the streets. So you as a Nigerian, you will fit in perfectly here. Don't worry yourself. But the food is good. You have like a funny
Pasta.
taste bud. Well, But it's not only pasta, Sha, but pasta is very common. There are about 300 different types of pasta. But let's leave it there. Well, the food is good. The people are also, accepting. It depends on experiences, individual experiences. I've had funny experiences in this country, but I've also had very, positive experiences. So it's a basket of tomatoes. You get the good ones, you get the bad ones, and I think that's everywhere also. Um, I'll give you an example. The first day I arrived in this country, the house that I had rented to stay in Rome, the landlord came, didn't know that I was the one who was supposed to stay there. So a friend liaised with the landlord on my behalf. So I was supposed to for 10 days because it was during COVID. I wanted to quarantine there and then move on to my station. And the landlord came the night that I got there. On discovering that I was black from Nigeria, he sent me out of the place the next morning.
Ah,
But at the same time, I had sisters from a Catholic, institution that accepted me, clothed me, fed me, helped me genuinely. I've had many people help me across this country, many, many people. For those who might have seen me on LinkedIn, I use a walking aid. All of my, going to the hospital, I've been helped by Italians, sometimes who would drive me in their car without asking for nothing. So again, prepare yourself for everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. You get it. Even in Nigeria, it happens too. So, well, that's my own mindset, anyways. Um, Academic expectations. It's a bit rigorous here. I'll be sincere with you. Well, maybe not rigorous, but fairly. The exams, you have 3 opportunities to take exams in a semester. So, for instance, if you have Dr. Mobolanle's class, because she's soon to be a doctor, if you have a class, you have 3 opportunities to take an exam with her. So there will be a first call, there'll be a second call, there'll be a third call. You take the first one, and the exams are about 30. If you take the first, and the minimum grade is 18. So if you have less than 18, you're not going anywhere. You have to take it again. 18 essentially is E in our own system in Nigeria. So, so so if you take the first one and you get like a 24, but you believe that you can do better, you can tell the professor to say, Prof, sorry, I'm not going to accept this score. I want to take it by the second time. So the second time you go, it might be a week or 2 weeks after, you prepare yourself, the same syllabus, the same set of topics that was taught, but the questions are of course different. And then the professor comes again, you go the second time, and then maybe at the second try you get a 30/30. Then you are satisfied and you take the score, right? Or you can omit the first call, omit the second call because you want to really take time to prepare. Take the third call, take the exam, and that's it. And you go. So it's that way. I know for us in Nigeria it's different. If you fail, you do carry over. You go try again the next year. But in this place, it's not like that. The exams are usually oral. So you take 14, 15 weeks of classes. You have sometimes 16, 20, reading materials, and then your exam is 15 minutes, and you have to read everything because you don't know where your questions are coming from. Nothing like areas of concentration, no AOC, nothing. You read every damn thing that is given to you. And so on the day of your exam, you come prepared. The professor could ask you from the last topic or the 7th topic or the 8th, whatever. You respond. Usually it is done in the presence of your classmates. So if you fumble, everybody laughs at you, you go home, So that's the kind of system that it is. And what else? It is fairly interesting because the professors are very, well, from my own experience, they're open-minded. They listen to you. They have conversations with you in class. It's not this star-slave relationship that many of us are used to in Nigeria. Your professor, Ekarosa, What else? What else?
I
Sometimes they even tell you to.
love Nigeria so much. That's why it's making reference to Nigeria.
So sometimes they even ask you to call them by their first name. Of course, well,
Yeah.
most of us Africans can't do it. I still struggle to call them. I still use professor or doctor, in that way to refer to them. But generally, the academic system, the expectations are fair. But the most important thing is just be ready. Be ready for everything because it will shock you. Many of us are used to writing on paper. You collect extra sheets, sir. You sit down, you write 2 3 hours. No, this one is just 15 20 minutes. You come, you the professor asks you a question, you have to respond and answer. Sometimes it could be a technical question, whatever it is. And then the professor grades you. If you accept the grade, you go. If you do not, you come back again the second time and then the third time. And even at the third instance, if you choose not to, you can take it again at the next exam installation. It doesn't matter if it's the first semester or the second semester.
Mm,
At all semesters, all exams are available to be taken.
no.
So if I did a course in the first semester and I didn't take the exam in the first semester and I want to leave the exam till the second semester, I'll just write to the professor and say, Professor, whatever, I'm away in France enjoying myself. I will not be able to take your exam in this semester. Can we reschedule for the next semester? And he will say, yes, of course you can. So when it comes to the next semester, he will tell you the requirements for taking the exams for his course. You prepare and then you take it. The problem with that, however, is that well, in my opinion, this is active. I think it makes students very lazy and lackadaisical. People don't pay attention to classes because you feel, oh, I can do it later, I can do it, I can try again. And so, but that also helps with the workload. If you have many courses, you can also space out your exams to allow you to adequately prepare. So well, something else that I'm sorry, you wanted to round up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I have one more question and I was thinking we can finish in 1 hour 30 minutes just to take up
Okay.
additional question. I know my speaker came prepared for us, but don't worry, we don't want to take much of your time. So that's just it as regards I think he answered it. Just get prepared for the best and the other side of it. So you are going to
Yeah.
meet culture shock, weather shock, people shock, everything shock in between. Just prepare
Shock.
for it. But then
Electric shock.
I can assure you that you also see the good side of studying abroad in most of this
Yeah.
Western academic system. It's going to be a bit
Absolutely.
rigorous, but I think we are wired as resilient people, so we are always prepared
Yeah.
to overcome most of these challenges that we face over here. So I don't want that to scare any one of us.
No, no, no,
Okay,
absolutely
so
not.
my final question here before we wrap up, or maybe one of the final questions before we start the question and answer session. I just want you to elaborate more on the visa aspect for the Italy scholarship because I know you mentioned for the university-based one, you need to apply for yourself. So how can applicants go about the process? I know there is a bit of legalization, a lot of procedures, and even this is at the phase where some people even get rejected. And despite having a fully funded scholarship, they are unable to relocate to Italy to start their program. So maybe you can enlighten us more about that.
So it's basically 3 stages. The first is, of course, you've gotten your admission, you've gotten your pre-enrollment document from Universitali, the websites that one of our listeners just posted here in some few minutes ago. The first stage will be the authentication phase, which we spoke about already. So I won't, stress on that. You go with all of your documents, which is your um, YX certificate, your birth certificate, your degree certificate, your transcript, and also maybe your passport data page. I think your there are certain documents you go with all of those documents. If you check the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Education site and you click authentication, you will see all of the documents that are needed there. There's also a WhatsApp group for Italian. Well, they call it Go Italia. For those who are interested in going to Italy, you can check the NICIT LinkedIn page, Nigerian Scholars in Italy. There should be maybe a link that will take you to the Go Italia WhatsApp, or find a way to join. On that platform, you can get all of the questions answered around, because it's been 4 years since I applied for a visa. So I'm sorry, I might not be able to give you the most updated information. However, I still spoke with colleagues who arrived recently, and they explained to me. So you need to do the authentication first. You go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja and the Ministry of Education in Abuja. They are beside each other in Abuja. After you've gotten your documents authenticated, in fact, before you even do the authentication, you have to signify your interest to do a legalization at the Italian embassy or the Italian consulate. There's a website where it is done. They call it, I'm trying to find the correct name now. I'll probably send it to you after. You can also keep it in your, for those that might still reach out to us later. So that website where you have to apply for late at the embassies in Abuja, the consulate is in Lagos. So you apply for a date, you get a date for your legalization. So you take your authenticated document, and when you get that date, you still write to the consulate or to signify, oh, I got a date on the website, I will be coming on so day to do my legalization. What legalization in fact is that you're going with the already authenticated documents from the Nigerian government, which is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Education, to show to the Italian government that I have the authenticated documents to apply for a visa to come to your country. So before you go for that legalization, you have to translate all of the documents that you have from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Education into Italian. So there are people who do that as a business. There are Italian speakers in Lagos, in Nigeria, in different places, specialists in translating documents to Italian. In fact, I think the Italian government website in Nigeria also has maybe 1 or 2 numbers or names of people that are recommended to check out. They translate all of those documents for you. Please, when they translate those documents and you get them back, look through all of those documents. Make sure that there are no errors on your names. Make sure that all of your documents are properly, replicated the way it should be. And also, so you go with all of those documents, the original, the photocopy, because when you go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Education, you have to go with the original documents and you have to go with photocopies of those documents. So your passport photocopy, your degree certificate, your WAEC certificate photocopy, your transcript photocopy. So you go with photocopies and the original. So the ministries will authenticate both the photocopy and the original. Then you translate those documents to Italian and go with all of those documents, legalization appointment at the Italian consulate or the embassy. Then you submit them, you pay, and then they will tell you to come back at a certain day to collect them. Now, please, there's something else that I want us to pay attention to. If your name is Prevail Adewale-Alfred, as it is written on this screen, make sure that that is the way it reflects on all of your documents. Your passport must reflect it, your degree certificate must reflect it, your WAEC certificate must reflect that name, your birth certificate must reflect that name. All of your documents, the order of arrangement must be the same. Exactly. If it is not consistent, the best thing to do is to quickly sign a sworn affidavit any high court close to you. So if you have that problem, do that before you go for the legalization. Otherwise, you've wasted your time. And then you have to start applying for another date again. So before you go, look at all your names, collect all those documents, the sworn affidavit also, make sure that you authenticate it at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and translate also. But if you have problems with your name, you are fine. Go ahead with the documents that you have, go for your legalization appointment, do the legalization, collect. They will tell you to come back on a Friday, the next Friday after you've collected it. When you collect your documents, you then book an appointment for your visa at the TLS. At the TLS, you go with all of those documents that you've gotten, plus all of the other documents that are needed for the visa application. So there's a visa application checklist on the Italian embassy website in Nigeria. So you make sure that check all of those documents. So if you have a scholarship, you include the scholarship letter, you include your admission letter, all of the documents you authenticated and that you legalized at the Italian consulate or the Italian embassy. You include everything. Then you have to show proof of where you're going to arrive in Italy. So just be a dummy, accommodation. Then you have to show proof of your flight ticket, dummy also. You don't have to buy a ticket. You can check on YouTube how to book a dummy flight ticket just to show, oh, I intend to travel on the 22nd of Friday 22nd of December. Okay. Or travel on so date. So try and book a dummy ticket to show that if I go on 20th of February, I'm going to back August 30, 2026. I'm not running away or I'm here, something like that. So book a dummy ticket, book all of those things that are needed, find a way to collect all of those documents. Also, have a scholarship did not show proof of sufficiency. I'm talking of money, ego, kudi, owo, whichever language. Because you have to demonstrate that without the funding, to some extent, you can cater for yourself. At least you can buy a flight ticket by yourself if there's an emergency. You can come back home if you want. There's a steady source of income that takes care of you to some extent, right? So also you need a health insurance. The health insurance has to have more than 30,000 euros coverage. Not that you pay 30,000 euros for health insurance, so coverage, So you can buy AXA, there's other insurance companies in Nigeria that you can buy with, or you can buy an Italian health insurance provider. You can buy from one. One of them is Y Italy, WAITALY, Y Italy. You can check the platform. They sell health insurances. It might also help you because it's Italian, more trusted for the visa officer who is checking your profile rather than maybe a Nigerian, health insurance. So you buy that, you include it in just get all of those documents collected properly. And then you have to write an introduction letter, because as I know, with the Italian visa application, there is no interview process. So that, again, just like we spoke about writing your motivation letter, this again is for you to tell another story that shows why you're going, what you intend to go and do, the university you're going to, where you're going to be staying in the first few days, if you're moving to the student dormitory, if you're going to be traveling, just document everything. Oh, I added additional 2 million naira, 3 million naira in so bank account as provided to me by my dad, as provided to me by my mom, or they have the certificate of their employment from so company attached, or their payment for the last year is also attached. Just demonstrate all of those documents properly in your introduction letter, and then go for your visa application, submit your visa application, expect to receive your visa, collect your visa, and travel in the name of Jesus. So yeah,
Man.
that's it.
All right, thank you so much, Prevail. I think you've been able to do justice, and I think it's very important we address that question because getting admission and scholarship is one thing. Getting the visa
Yeah,
to travel to the country where you want
it's
to
an
study is another thing. So and it's important we let you guys know what it actually entails. So it won't be like, oh, they just tell us it's yes, it's fully funded, but this part you need to take the burden on your own, like
Yeah,
responsibility for all
correct,
these
correct,
costs as involved
correct.
before you travel to your designated institution for your study.
So
So
if I
I
may,
believe, okay,
sorry, if I may, in fact, hold some extra cash because your scholarship might not come in the first 10 days, 15 days, 20 days of arrival. For instance, with Italy, you have to apply for your permiso di soggiorno, open a bank account before anybody will pay into that bank account. Nobody will give you cash. Oh, I have scholarship, I'm going, no money, man. It doesn't work that way. Even if it is 500 euros, hold something and then come.
okay. Yeah, so it's very important. And I know for so many people, this is where the limitation comes in for some of us. But then, like you said, there's a strong community for you to join. Because for me, when I was about to study, it's not like as if I have any euros, but because I have already built a relationship with those that were there. So to some extent, they could loan me
So,
certain amount
exactly.
to sponsor everything that was
Find a
involved
way.
and on arrival. And I knew that okay, when I get back my stipends, I was able to pay back.
I'll
So,
give it back.
and I think he mentioned something about the community for Nigerians. And if you are not in Nigeria, I'm sure they are very open to
They
welcome you
are.
regardless
They are. They are.
nationalities you are coming from.
Yeah.
Sorry, my speaker is more of a typical Nigeria. So every of these instances is examples, everything is related to Nigeria. But regardless, you can always find out how the system works in your country because, like we said, not every country is requested to have like authentication go through all these processes. So it's just important to know how it works in your own country over there. So yeah, we've been able to do justice to this Italian scholarship right from trying to know the types of opportunities, how to address the application process, your writing essays, the benefits that comes from it, life in Italy. So largely to some extent, I think we've been able to cover everything you need to know about opportunities in Italy, and it's up to you to just give it a shot if you are interested in it. So yeah, I would like to open the floor for questions maybe within the next 10-15 minutes so we can round up here. I know I have a lot of questions that I actually prepared for him. So but because of time, I won't want us to take much of our time. We can go home and do our own research to get the update. And of course, I know he's open to answer your questions even after the session. So we are here waiting for your question. I'll just run through the chat to see what are the questions and those that even came in after the greetings. So, William, thank you for joining us from Lagos. I see Rhoda as well from Lagos. Thank you. I see Peter. Thank you for joining us. George, you are here. You've always been part of our sessions. Yeah, good to have you there. Maybe George is asking a question. I'm not sure. Okay, just okay for a PhD in the area of my study, yeah, I think you've been able to get how to go about the process from everything we've discussed so far from this session. This is our senior scholar from Italy greeting us. So thank you, Henry, for joining us. Emmanuel, okay, this was the person that told us the link wasn't working, but I believe it was working anyway. Um, okay. For the I know I came across another link about Eddie Italy or something like that. So I'll try to look into the link and post it back. I think there is also opportunities from this website as well. Okay, Mbeke is asking, is there university scholarship for masters too? I think we've done justice to that particular question. That's even where we have more opportunities even than the PhD scholarship. Okay. You mentioned about the name of Nigeria. You can type it in the comments if you have chance to. I really don't know about that, but and even if you want to search on LinkedIn as well, you can just put Nigerian students in Italy. Maybe LinkedIn will
Nigerian
bring it out.
scholars, Nigerian scholars in Italy.
Okay, so for the person asking this question, it's just saying just type in Nigerian scholar in Italy and maybe you get a link,
Or
go Italy or
on
something.
nice seat. On nice seat.
Okay,
NSIT.
okay, so that's just it. So you can for now I'm not seeing any questions in the chat box. So I want to believe I asked every questions on your mind and we're able to clear everything for everyone. So that's a good one if we don't have questions. So maybe it makes it more easier to wrap up the session this evening. But if you do have, you can still, we can take one or two questions if you have there. I think a question that actually skipped my mind when we were going through the session, because you were saying there's a call that is being published, maybe either for the University of the Maeshe Scholar Government Scholarship. Now, for this call, how often is it published? Is it like the general September scholarship period or February? Is there a particular time that applicants can look forward to these opportunities?
So yes, for master students, anything from around December to around May, different in Italy open up their application processes. So, for instance, my university starts from around February or March, February to March. So that period. Some universities start from December, January. Some will not start until March. So, but about that 4 or 5 month period from around December to around March or April in most cases, May sometimes, even sometimes until late June. Yeah, it's still open for some students. For PhD scholarships, as I know, anything from around March, April, get ready. You know, because PhD students here in Italy in November, master
Oh,
students Zoom in October. So the academic session starts usually at the end of September. You will start in September already, but you won't start classes until maybe the third week in September. But from October, you start
okay.
you start attending classes fully. So many universities will start applications usually from the start of the year, will end it 3 or 4 months into the year, and then leave the rest of the period for their publications of the results of who won and who didn't, and so that you can also do your visa, anticipating September when you can resume. So the
Okay. So
publications both for Maechi and for the university scholarships are usually found on the university websites or on the Maechi website.
okay, okay, all right. And is that the same thing for the Maheshi as well? Like
Yes,
the
but
same timeline for the
yeah.
university?
Well, I'm not specifically
Okay.
sure of the Maechi one, but I'm certain more of the university
Um,
scholarships.
okay, okay.
So regional scholarships have the same timeline with the university scholarship. For regional scholarships, you need to get your admission separately, and then you go to the website of now body. So for Lazio region, it is Lazio Disco. That's the website. For some other region, it is the other, so region by region, they have their own different regional study bodies, essentially, and people can check those platforms.
All right. So thank you so much, Prevail. You've been able
Thank,
to take us through everything we need to know about
thank
opportunities
you.
in Italy. And just to wrap up with this very, very last question, which I mean it. Okay. Okay. Let me take this person question so I won't be biased before asking mine. All right. So, um, Subhan Rahim. I hope I got the pronunciation right. So, he's a first timer here and he's asking this question. Thank you for joining us anyway. He's saying, okay, is there student work opportunities in Italy?
Yes and no. So I'm joking. Yes, of course there are opportunities. You're on usually typically everybody's on a work on a study visa, a
Study
national
visa
visa,
that allows.
yeah, a type D visa that allows you to work for 20 hours a week. So yes, the opportunities. Well, I can't speak so much of the opportunities. I did, or my experience, again, I'm speaking purely from a subjective standpoint, was that I tapped into work opportunities within the university. So usually you will find, well, I don't know what the exam experience is across other universities, but um, in my university, the university has job opportunities for students to work in the libraries, in specific offices, to work as tutors with new students, international students, or students arriving on Erasmus, to work as tutors for students with specific learning disabilities. So usually every semester there are opportunities to work with the university. For international students, I encourage you because it is a more controlled environment. It is a more flexible environment, and it's an environment where you can work freely with your knowledge of English language that you already have, and also maybe develop on your Italian, skills that you want to build on. So, yeah, in universities, you might be opportune to find specific work opportunities. They are based on contracts. So they are based on competitions. You compete with other students, you get a job in the university, and in some cases, those jobs are because it's based on your merit. So they are looking at your standing as an academic, your academic standing, and then they want to see, okay, if you have a very high standing, possibly it shows that you can combine doing this job with your academic pursuit. So usually when you're applying, they ask you to include the list of the courses that you've taken, the scores that you have in those courses, and the rest. Also, opportunities to work outside of the university, but largely many of those opportunities are many. Or you can also tap into internship opportunities in companies, in organizations. But understand that even for those, your section that you have to go through too. So there are opportunities, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I, for one, working completely with the university because for me um, it is more. I enjoyed it more basically, and it depends on what you want to do. But yes, there are opportunities, and it also depends on the region where your university is. Um, Maybe people in northern Italy might have more opportunities to work outside of the university than people maybe in central or southern Italy. It depends on what the place looks like. So
Mhm.
the job market is different from the place essentially.
All right. Thank you so much. I think that's it. And maybe when you start your studies, you will know that it's not even easy to combine extra work with
It's
your
hard.
studies. But
It is hard.
it's a good one that you are able to answer the question. Okay, for Jeremiah asking about using his expired IELTS result, our speaker already answered the question from the beginning. So yes, it's something that can give you an advantage there. You can still use it, or possibly you can also use your a letter from your university showing that you actually studied in English language, because I don't want to give that question to our speaker, so we won't spend more time here. So I had to take it myself. All right. So for the very final question, Prevail, what is that piece of advice that you give to someone on this application journey, maybe who has tried his or her best and continuously faced rejections? I think, some people have been looking to a particular region, nothing has been coming forth. They've tried two different types of application. So what's your advice beyond Italy or no Italy, like generally to aspiring scholars out there?
Just don't stop. I applied 19 times before I got my PhD position. So don't stop. That's it.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's as straight as that. If you know you are so intentional about this, there is no way. Giving up is not an option. Let me just put it like that. So you just have to keep giving. So many people apply for 2, 3, 4, 5 years before getting it. So, and I can promise you, if you don't give up, you eventually get someday. Yeah, so that's it. And to everyone that is looking forward to these opportunities in Italy, I believe you've been able to have all the necessary information that you need to actually ace your application. And of course, um, we are hoping to receive your question, but then please respect uh, boundaries in the sense of know the kind of question you are trying to bring on board, because everything is available on the website out there. So it's up to you to do your search first before reaching out for
Yeah.
any further guidance. So it's important we state it like that. Okay, so to my speaker, once again, I want to sincerely appreciate you for your time. This is 2 hours on dot. We've been talking like continuously trying to answer every question related to opportunities in Italy. I really appreciate your time and your attention for the clarity and depth that you've provided so far. Thank you so much. And to everyone that has joined us for this session this evening, I could see people join from LinkedIn. I could see people join from YouTube. I know not everyone can stay to the end for one reason or the other, but the good thing is you have the session recorded and you can always rewatch it back. So thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be our final session for this year 2025, and I believed you've been able to enjoy every of our series so far. And if for those that are also joining for the first time, you can go back. We've done sessions on Erasmus, we've done sessions on Eiffel, France, we've done session on how do I call it now? We've done session on ETH Zurich, CSC, MasterCard. And like I mentioned, we are also looking forward to serve you better in coming years. So come year 2026, 10th of January, we are planning to host another session on Hungary scholarship, the stipendium, as well as the FAO scholarship. So we have our speaker ready for that session, and also we'll be taking the session on the Netherlands. I know I've gotten a lot of DM for that, but yes, I intentionally reserved the best to that time because that's actually the time when they nominate for scholarship. So it will be good to have it around that time of the year. So yeah, we are grateful and thank you so much for everyone. You can just stay updated. Follow me on LinkedIn where I share more tips on scholarship and just to get updates into our subsequent series. And you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel to also get more updates about our further series. So thank you so much, everyone, for being part of this event. I'll just round up with a closing prayer and we wrap it for the day. Father, we thank you for this session. Thank you for bringing us to the close of this session this evening. Thank you for this informative episode of the scholarship series. We thank you that for as many that has listened to everything that has been discussed on this platform, they would be able to take advantage of it. And by this time next year, we would be able to celebrate with them and rejoice with them, knowing fully well that they have been the beneficiary of the information that has been passed across today in the name of Jesus. Thank you so much because you've heard and answered. For in
In
Jesus' mighty
Jesus'
name we pray. Amen. So
name.
thank you so much, everyone. And on this note, let me wish you Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance. So see you
Merry
in
Christmas.
2026.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much,
Bye.
everyone, and have a wonderful day, evening, wherever you are. Thank you, my speaker. Yeah, thank you so much. So that is it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Don't worry, we are together.
Bye.
So in case you have any other subsequent series, trust me, we'll reach out to you. Thank you so much. All right, so
Thank
I'll end
you
the
very much.
stream and have a nice day. Bye.
You too. Bye. Bye.